Hi, my name is Justin, aka Ghost Reader, and today I want to talk about the books of history that I want to finish. So, on my shelf, I have a bunch of history books, books that I've actually finished reading, books I have yet to finish reading. And so, today I'm going to talk about the books I have on my shelf, but I haven't finished reading for many different reasons. And none of them are that they have been bad, but either time has gotten in the way, I moved on to other things. So, Amy on Book Twitter asked me about to do a video about books that I would recommend. I said I don't think I've read enough history books to recommend any, but I said I would go through and make some videos about the books on my shelf. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first book on this list is African Introduction to African Civilizations by John G. Jackson. And I picked this up because I wanted to learn more about African civilizations. I actually picked up another book. I think it was called like The Histories of Empires or Kingdoms in West Africa. That was really good. And I got so engrossed with that one, I never actually went back to finish this one. So, this basically is a different approach to African history. It's more Afrocentric in the way it talks about African civilizations. At least that's what I got from what I remember getting from it. And so I'm definitely going to go back to this at some point and hear basically African civilizations talked about in a way that a more Eurocentric view of African civilization won't. So I'm really looking forward to getting back into this at some point. Next is The Guns of August by Barbara W. Tuchman. And this is about the opening months of World War One. I actually bought this book when I was doing my World War One series. And I was going to read it for that. I started reading it and then realized it was covering some of the same information I already had information on. But I must say that her writing, for what I read, was really good. It was really draws you in as a reader. She herself was alive during these events and actually has a pretty spectacular escape on a boat. I think from Turkey she was going. She was either going to Turkey from Turkey. I think I'm not exactly. I forget the exact details, but she herself was actually a young child when all this was happening. So, and she wrote this history later on in life, and it was really well written what I read so far. So definitely want to go back and finish this at some point. Next is a book that I've twice that I have started. I think at least maybe 2 or 3 times, but have not finished. And I'm definitely going to finish it at some point. Gonna make that a goal of mine. And that is Herodotus Histories. Herodotus is known as the father of history. He was at least the first guy on record we have going around talking to people to try to get the stories of events that happen instead of just like kind of doing like hearsay. And yeah, some of the stuff in this book is really fantastical, and it's like, yeah, that didn't happen. But he kind of set the standard for what a historian should do, and there's been a really famous work of history. And so, yeah, so this covers a lot of Greek and ancient Near East history. And I enjoyed kind of the stories that he talked about in the beginning of the book, because I maybe got through like a quarter of it. I still haven't gotten to the part where basically like the Greeks and the Persians start going at it, but that's the part I really want to get to. So yeah, so Herodotus Histories. Definitely gonna read this at some point. The next book is The Rise and Fall of Ancient Egypt by Toby E. Wilkinson. I bought this like maybe 3 to 5 years ago now. And this was a really great read when I was reading it. I think I was in my master's program at the time, so that's why I stopped reading it, got caught up in that. But this book made me realize just how old like the civilization of Egypt is. It's about 5,000 years old. That's 5 millennia old. And we still look at the stuff that they built today, and it was just a really good look at Egyptian culture, how it was formed, and just going through the history of all the pharaohs and the impact that Egypt had on the world around it, and the people had, and the Egyptians had on like the different changes that the Egyptian culture went through. So this was a really good book. and I really enjoy like ancient history. I don't read as much of it as I would like to. So this is definitely. I'm really glad that I picked up this book when I did. The next book is a book that probably many of you have heard of if you're into nonfiction, and that is Guns, Germs, and Steel: The Fates of Human Societies by Jared Diamond. And in this book, he basically talks about how basically weapons and germs and location of where people were located affected civilization and how they basically developed, which civilizations were more advanced technologically wise than others, and why like things like agriculture and disease how those things contributed to that. So yeah, I really liked this book. So I really liked this book. I really liked. I was very intrigued by the theories that he had in this book, and thought that and they, at least to me, they seem to be well thought out and quite probable. So at some point, I'm definitely going to dive back into this one, just because it was just so interesting, and it really brought up some stuff I never thought of and considered before. And the next book is a book that my mom gave me a long time ago. That I think I got maybe the first 20 pages in and never have finished it. I definitely want to finish this one day. And that is The Hemingses of Monticello, An American Family by Annette Gordon Reed. And basically, this book talks about the slave descendants of Thomas Jefferson, from what I remember of this book. And his relationship to that part of his family, and well, first him in that first slave woman that he had, and then it talks about her children, the family. It has this like amazing family tree, like in the beginning, chronicling the family, and has one in the back as well. So she did a lot of research into this family and its origins, and I also want to read it because the person who wrote it is also from my alma mater, which is Rutgers University. So this is I feel like it's going to be a really interesting read once I go back and dig my teeth into it. And last but not least, this is a book that I've been trying to actively read for like probably almost a year now. But for whatever reason, like, well, I know why, and that's the English and their history. You've probably seen this at the end of every TBR and wrap up that I do, and yeah, I'm not sure why I haven't finished reading this. The thing is, I get so caught up in everything else by the time I get to my yearly reads. Or at least I have this as a yearly read this year. It's like no time, and it's already the next month, and then I just start over again with like a whole new brand of books and never get to this. Which is crazy, because if I finish reading this book, my friend is gonna like reimburse me for the cost of the book, which is $12.50, because I'm supposed to read it and then tell him about it. But for some reason, I can't get myself together for the $12.50. So and basically, this is exactly what the title says. This is a history of the English people. I have, in the time that I had it, I'm only 38 pages in. That's absolutely ridiculous. But hopefully by the end of this year, my goal is to finish this book. So hopefully that will happen. I just don't know. So that is it for this video. Those are the history books that I'm probably gonna finish in the future. You'll probably see pop up on my TBR at some point. As you know, like, I really love history. I love learning about the world and how we got to where we are, and history is one of the ways in which to explore that. So if you do read nonfiction history, let me know what your favorite is down in the comment section below. Actually, yeah, let me know what your favorite is down in the comment section below. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more videos from me, please subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at GhostReach28, and the link to my Goodreads is down in the description box below. So as always, keep reading.